Welcome back, fellow soldiers. Antidote here with the newest developers briefing number 77 that dropped this Friday evening. And of course, we're gonna have a closer look at it. So let's dive right into it and let's open this developers briefing with what developer Max has prepared for us. We are currently hard at work on update number 7, which is shaping up to easily be our most significant and large update yet. Normally, it's a very easy process for us to put together a dev briefing as we simply deep dive into the coming features, artwork or other systems. However, in this case, we want to maintain some excitement and surprise for what's to come. So we'll be starting to unveil the full scope of changes closer to the release date, and there are a lot of things that we are excited about. Over the next couple weeks, we'll also be taking the opportunity to look at some of the methods and processes we use currently in the game to create the various different aspects of it. That's how Max is opening this week's or last week's developers briefing. And by that, he also includes some little information about update number 7. We now know that it will be the largest update that they have had yet. They've already announced that with update number 6, and that update was huge. So I'm pretty sure we can expect some huge new things to come with update number 7. Even more that we've gotten with update number 6. That'll certainly be very interesting to look forward to. In this week's developers briefing, there will be 3 points that they're gonna speak of. The first one is about patch number 11 with a release date of the patch. The second point is concerning cosmetic suggestions that the community was able to do in the last week or during the last week. And the third point and the last point of this week's developers briefing number 77 is about the developers' continued level design work. And this week it's specifically about the FOI redesign. And now, before we move into the first point, the infos about patch number 11, just a small announcement. I have been asked by several of you guys per personal message or email if they can support me somehow. This is only a small hobby channel of mine. I just like doing it. I'm not doing it for the money, of course. But if you want to support the channel, you can also do that now over my Patreon accounts that I made. And you'll find the link to that in the description of the video below or here on the screen. But without further ado, let's jump right into the infos about patch number 11. And the first info that we're getting about that one is the launch date. And the launch date of patch number 11 will be May 28th. So we're getting the new patch already in less than a week. And to that, the developers say, while it feels small to us compared to our usual updates, it fixes some aspects we've had fed back to us in regards to update 6, as well as laying the groundwork for our push towards update 7. On top of the above, patch 11 will also include some additional customization options for your soldiers. We'll be releasing the full changelog, which will include all the bug fixes, adjustments and new customizations closer to the release date. Now, for this specific section of the dev brief, I don't have to say much about it. It's nice that the devs also let the updates follow by a patch note. I mean, that's necessary, but it's also possible because of you guys, the community, that are reaching out to the developers, maybe on Discord or on Reddit, and tell them what problems you encounter on the battlefield so they can work on those problems, fix those issues and solve them in patches that they release after the updates. One thing that I have been asked on the channel here before is what changes in customization options we'll be getting in the updates. That is not 100% clear yet, as you've heard in the devs comment before, but they will release the changelog, and as soon as we get that, we'll be knowing more about the coming customization options. Regarding customization options and cosmetics is the second point that we're going to talk about in this week's developers briefing, that is named cosmetic suggestions and something new. Let's see what the devs are writing concerning the cosmetic suggestions that you, the community, were able to do over Reddit. Well, what a fantastic response. Thanks for all your feedback on the Hell Let Loose subreddit with suggestions for new uniforms, helmets and other cosmetic additions. We've collated and saved all submissions we've received, as well as the additional information you provided. Soon we'll start the process that'll allow us to continue adding these to the game in an ongoing fashion in every patch and update. We've also read much of the additional feedback about the customization system itself and are looking at any changes that need to be made. We've also got a little extra something for you. Attached, you can find some beautiful new renders of the in-game models for the new M43 combat uniform for the US forces. This will be added to the game shortly, and if you've taken a closer look at the screen, you've been able and are now able to see those pictures that the devs provided us with a sneak peek at the new M43 combat uniform of the US forces. And if you ask me, this just looks amazingly detailed. That's just crazy. And here again, I have to say the devs are just doing a great job when it comes to listening to the community's feedback and also implementing ideas that you guys bring to them over the subreddit and so on. So hats off for that. Next up, and the last topic of this week's developers briefing, is the level design work that the devs are still doing. Besides all the work that is going on the updates and patchworks, they are also overworking all the existing maps. Before, they've already did that with the Utah map that we've already been able to play on with the new changes that have been amazing and just made the gameplay even better. And they are also doing that with all the other maps. And this week they are specifically talking about the continued level design work that they did on the Foy map. So let's hear what they write to this one. Alongside work on 3 unannounced maps, we've also been overhauling and upgrading nearly every other existing map in the game. We thought we'd show off a bit more of the Foy work to tide you over while you wait for update number 7. We fully intend for update 7 to drastically improve your gameplay experience across many of the most beloved maps, while at the same time we're also working to make those less popular maps just as successful as others. We're paying particular attention to creating viable infantry paths from strongpoint to strongpoint, while also enabling access for vehicles. While open 200-meter fields leads to poor infantry gameplay, cluttering the entire map with constant objects will harm vehicle gameplay. We've played a huge amount and identified a relative cover density per meterage. With this in mind, we've been marking copious notes on particular challenging or boring strong points or map locations and have been building them out with greater detail and level of interest. And I think the developers are here pointing out exactly what the community has fed back to them. In my opinion, I think one of the biggest issues, if you want to call it so, with the Foy map was the big fields that you'll have to fight on. Don't understand me wrong, the devs are trying to be as historically accurate as it is possible, but it also has to work with the gameplay since it's a computer game. And now they are taking on that issue and are working on the level redesign here, and they realized and saw that when the community reacted to them that there's just too many open fields on the map and the tactical gameplay comes too short, because you can't build up a tactical gameplay if you just have open fields and have to run on an open street for multiple minutes. So I think this is a very important step that they're doing, and I'm pretty sure that the Foy map will be made more interesting with this level redesign and will certainly be able to hold up with all the other maps that have been reworked and will gain the traction again that it had in the beginning. On the screen, you were able and are still able to see some of the screenshots of work that is still in progress, that the devs are doing on the Foy map, and I think they already look awesome, the changes that they did. One example would be that the AA position has had several open and closed buildings added, where the devs paid particular attention to the eye lines and access points, so the gameplay will be made more interesting and more tactical. And also the push between the AA position and the train line should now feature a pleasant birch forest on the east side of the train line, and that will include a semi-destroyed German position and supplies placed in the forest to conceal them from the air. And I think that's quite an interesting approach. I think a forest was the thing that was missing when moving from the AA position and the train line, because you didn't have any cover at all. And as an example how these changes will affect your gameplay, the developers write to that change that they did between the AA position and train line that the fastest route to push to the next position will still be along the train line itself, but capturing the wooded area will provide a defensible spawn location and an easy place to support the fighting at both strong points, and that's a certain plus, and that will affect the gameplay positively in my opinion. It will make everything more interesting and more tactical. Also, Dugout Barn has been overhauled. They retained the tiny farming buildings at the corners, but expanded it with a trench network and several other larger structures, and they created more openings in the wire fences, so it will be easier to walk around them or get to the different points and positions. And they also replaced several of the wire fences with stone walls, so they could create more hard cover for the open field battles. So you see, for a level design rework, the devs don't have to certainly change all historic things that a map brings with it. They just change small amounts and little details on the map, like a wire fence with a stone wall or a small trench network, and that will add and influence the gameplay enormously. Now, that's already been it for this week's developers briefing. If you made it this far, thanks a lot for listening and watching my videos. I really appreciate the support that you guys give me in the comments or by subscribing and liking my videos. If you enjoy the content I provide, please make sure to be subscribed and to like the videos, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna see each other on the battlefield.
Close the side, guys. Side.